Seven, six, five, four, three, two, one.
It's now time for the Pony Cake Sports Podcast with your hosts, Josh Stevens, Tim Thompson, and Tom Schultz. Woo!
Welcome to this very special episode of Pony Keg Sports, and I say very special because our fearless leader, Joshua Stevens, is not here for the first time pretty much ever. Mike has steered the ship at times, but we are prepared. I'm going to steer the ship here today, much to the chagrin of a couple of people, Jim Jennings, Spencer Camp, looking at you guys. But nevertheless, I'm joined here, as always, with my friend and yours, Tom. Tom, how you doing, buddy?
Tim, I'd appreciate it if you wouldn't lie to everyone and tell everyone that we actually like each other because I hate you.
Oh, okay.
Josh, I do miss you. It kind of sucks just hanging out one-on-one with Tim. Hasn't happened much before, and hopefully it stops happening very shortly.
All right. Well, my feelings are at an all-time high right now. We are joined via the magic of telephone with our fearless leader, Joshua Stevens. Josh, let's start with how nervous are you knowing that I am controlling your stuff right now?
Pretty nervous. I wish you were there last week so I could show you everything and how the board ran. But I have faith, and it is what it is. Right now I'm in San Francisco at the 49ers training camp. Check it out. So.
Well, it doesn't surprise me that someone like you would be in San Francisco. A lot of Josh-type people out there. But I digress. You walked me into a shitstorm here when I came into your house today. Dogs barking, door broken, toilet broken, and you're saying, hey, champ, why don't you just fix that for me? I literally have a blue hand right now by taking care of your house. But nevertheless,
it's dedication, Tim.
It is. That's being a good friend. That's feeling a little bit guilty for not being here last week. But as always, the three of us are here. We are Pony Keg Sports. Make sure you follow us on Facebook. Find us there, Pony Keg Sports. Follow Josh at Pony Keg Sports, Tom at Pony_Keg_Tom, and you can find me at Fight Talk Tim. Gentlemen, we're in training camp. We are just days away now from the first NFL preseason game, the Hall of Fame game, notoriously a train wreck. Was it just 3 years ago when the field was so bad because of the fake paint they put out there? They couldn't even have the game. But this year, my Chicago Bears are going to start it off against the Baltimore Ravens, which is fitting. Urlacher and Lewis both going into the Hall of Fame, so I like what the NFL is doing there. Let's start with how excited are you guys? What's on your radar right now as we're starting to get into the thick of things here in training camp?
In general, or are you just talking about the Bears?
Whatever you want to start with, Tommy. Josh isn't here to to be a what's the word I'm looking for here? A
Nazi?
A Nazi in terms of what we talk about.
Nazi.
We can cut him out. I can mute my phone whenever I'd like. So, Tom, why don't you start us off? What do you want to talk about, baby?
There's one huge story right now. Tim, you probably know what I'm going to be talking about. It's Mr. Andrew Luck coming back and throwing the Duke, the real NFL life-size football out there, and slinging it around. He's thrown 4 days now. He's had one rest day. He's throwing again tomorrow morning, and he's going to have another rest day on Thursday. But he's doing good. He looks like himself out there. He is leading the offense. Today, he threw the most balls he's thrown so far in preseason, 33 attempts. He was 24-33, had 2 touchdowns, overthrew 1 football. He's a little rusty, but he's getting back into the shape of things. And in fantasy football right now, he's still going off the board as quarterback 12. Start drafting him earlier. Andrew Luck is back.
So he's coming back with his robotic arm.
Yep.
I know you're excited. How many series are you looking for one Andrew Luck here in the preseason? Normally you get 1 the first game, you get 2 to 3 the second, and you get a half the third, you sit the fourth. What are you looking for out of him?
Hopefully it's something along those lines. Frank Reich came out and said they're going to treat him just like any normal quarterback, play very little, like you said, in week 1, week 2, ramp it up a little bit. Week 3 is that dress rehearsal. He's going to be playing a half of football. I think he's going to be ready for it. Might be a little weird at first, but with that offensive line they are building there. Quentin Nelson looks like a monster already out there in Indianapolis. I feel pretty good with Andrew Luck.
I'm going to direct this question towards Josh because you're a homer and I don't think you could give me an honest answer. Same way I wouldn't. Well, I would, but with my Chicago Bears. Josh, I want to know pretty much every expert out there right now is predicting the Indianapolis Colts to be a 5, maybe 6 win team and finish dead last in that was AFC South.
Yep.
Where do you see them, and what do you think the Colts are going to have for us this year?
Well, you got to look at it, man. If Andy Luck is healthy, which reports are that he's getting there, and if he is, then they have a really good shot at surpassing 5 or 6 wins. I mean, you just have to look at it. He hasn't thrown an NFL pass in how long, Tom? 300 or 400 days? Long time?
In a game, it's been like over 500.
Yeah, over 500. So that's the risk that you're taking with Andrew Luck, and that's the risk that you're taking the Colts if you are taking them above 5 or 6 games. But still, you have to remember 3 years ago, Andrew Luck was one of the top performers in the NFL. So if he does come back healthy and that robotic arm is good to go, then I don't know. I like their chances of surpassing the 5 or 6 mark.
We're going to move to one of the division rivals. And this is just going to be a quick tidbit just because I want everyone to go out there and take a look at this. I made you guys go look at this picture. Derrick Henry, I've cemented him as a stud in Tennessee. I think he's going to have a fantastic year. I like what he's bringing. I like where he's going to finish in terms of fantasy football. You guys have both been hesitant due to one, Dion Lewis being there and what he's shown he could do in New England. What are your guys' thoughts? And listen, size isn't everything, but Tom, maybe you can't, but Josh and I can tell you it is important to some people. What do you think about the size difference? There's a picture out there. Google it. Dion Lewis standing next to Derrick Henry, and it looks like it's photoshopped. It legitimately looks like an NFL player next to a Pee Wee football player, and not like a Pee Wee heavyweight, like a Pee Wee middleweight.
If you look at the picture, Henry's a little closer up than Lewis is. It looks like Lewis is a yard or two behind him while they're walking. But yeah, Derrick Henry is an absolute monster. He's probably the biggest running back size-wise in the NFL. And what's crazy is that Dion Lewis was far more successful last season running in between the tackles, and Henry was in fact better at the outside zone runs. So it's going to be interesting how they use both of these guys. Henry has never been a bell cow back in the NFL. Last time he was at Alabama, and they brought Dion Lewis in, paid him pretty good money. So you have to think that this new regime in Tennessee wants to use Lewis a good amount, somewhere between that 180, 220 touch point, and you'd have to think Henry's touches are going to be limited to a similar amount.
Josh, is Derrick Henry a top 15 back?
Derrick Henry is absolutely not a top 15 back for me.
Thank you.
I think his ADP right now is still pretty high. In my personal opinion, for fantasy football draft experts-wise and such as ourselves, but Dion Lewis, I don't think he's getting enough love via the ADP in fantasy football. He should actually be a little bit closer in ADP, and you have to look at it. Dion Lewis caught a lot of balls in New England, also ran the ball quite a bit as well. He's not going to come here to play, in my opinion, second fiddle. They paid him some money, and there is no more DeMarco Murray, so we do understand that, but I think this is a case of maybe we're going to see Henry take that DeMarco Murray role, but not as heavy as what everybody thinks, and I think it'll be more of an even timeshare. A lot of people think it's going to be like a 70-30 type thing. I think it'll be more like a 55-45.
Worth noting, Derrick Henry's been getting a lot of reps catching the ball out of the backfield. It's at least worth noting for fantasy football purposes. The only other note I wanted to make about the AFC South, didn't plan on talking this much about them, but I saw a note today, and then I went and did the research. I found it on the NFL Reddit somewhere, and then I went and double-checked it. Blake Bortles, out of his draft class, he has the 7th most rushing yards out of anyone drafted. Running back, quarterback, wide receiver, doesn't matter. In front of guys like Josh's Charles Sims, in front of guys like the highly touted Bishop Sankey. Big names there, And Blake Bortles, he's still a top 7 guy. So I don't even want a response from you people. I just wanted to let you guys know that because I found it interesting. But Josh, you were talking about Deion Sims needing to get a little bit more love. Deion Lewis get a little bit more love. And there's a guy out there with the name of Le'Veon Bell holding out right now, even though he's rumored to be back week 1, but holding out, and a video surfaced today. And when I read the headline, I'm like, well, it really shouldn't be that big of a deal. And the headline read, during holdout, Lev Bell smacking stripper's ass. And I thought to myself, okay, and it had a not safe for work video. And I'm like, well, how? They can't be that bad. So I want to just set the scene here. The video starts with Lev Bell, it looks like on a party bus, sitting next to a pretty young lady who I can only assume is his girlfriend. And he's giving her like a kiss on the cheek. They're like kind of loving on each other. It's real nice. And then it immediately cuts to Le'Veon Bell with a big old booty in his face. And he's like looking dead into the hurricane's eye like a peephole in a door and just smacking her ass. And like I said, it's on TMZ, guys. They have it blurred out quite a bit, but it's about 30 seconds of him just looking dead on into a butthole, slapping her ass. Do you think this reflects poorly on Le'Veon Bell?
No. I don't think it does. Whoever or whatever member of Lev Bell's entourage released this video or sold it to TMZ is probably going to be kicked out of his entourage. You know, the only big deal with this was that I got to make fun of our league mate Josh Schultz. I told him Lev Bell smacked a stripper, and he was kind of freaking out. And then he looked at it real quick and said, "Oh, he smacked her ass." So he freaked out. He thought Lev Bell was going to get suspended along possibly with this long holdout. But yeah, you as a Steeler fan or a Lev Bell owner in fantasy, yeah, you'd probably want him to be being safer out there and not videotaping all of his shenanigans, and possibly working out more, getting in football shape, which that's almost impossible to do when you are holding out. I don't think it's a huge deal. I'm sure 90% of NFL players do this type of thing.
I don't even think
as I would.
Listen, number one, I just wonder, I thought the same thing. I can't even take my phone out when I'm at the strip club. Who the hell has the audacity to have it out? And when you go watch the video, it's right there. Like, it is blatant. I don't know if it was the girlfriend. I don't know who it was, but shady business. Josh, and you said no suspension. This day and age, who knows? He might get suspended now. People have been suspended for worse. Josh, what are your thoughts?
So, I honestly haven't seen the video. Really busy out here, so haven't been able to pull that up yet. But at the same time, you got to look at this. You have a fellow running back that was just guaranteed a boatload of money. You've been sitting there saying that you deserve a huge guaranteed portion of money as well in your new contract. And having this come out, regardless of who sent it out or who did what, it does not look good for you. Now, is that really going to hinder his contract talk and his contract extension or one or the other? It may or may not, but I'm telling you, this does not look good for Le'Veon Bell. I don't see him staying in Pittsburgh. I see Pittsburgh, the writing is on the wall. He's gone, and have fun going to the Jets.
Well, he was looking like Miss Cleo looking in the future, looking through that bunghole there. I'll tell you, go watch the video when we're done with the show here tonight, Josh. Let's see where to go next. Let's start with some of the injuries. As always in camp, there's injuries, and it seems like it's a given every year. The Los Angeles Chargers, again, corners, lost a couple of them already. Tom, why don't you elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, Jason Verrett tore his Achilles, I believe. He'll be out for the whole year. They've already lost Hunter Henry, their starting tight end. They lost another tight end to another torn ACL. This team just has the worst luck. I don't know if it's luck. I don't know if they have a bad strength and conditioning program. I don't know if the surfaces this team is practicing on is bad, but something needs to change if you're the ownership or the people running this Chargers football team. Because this team, on paper, might be one of the top 5 most talented teams in the NFL right now. Got a stud quarterback, very good weapons on the offensive side of the football. That D-line is impressive, excellent corners, and it's already being shredded due to injuries.
Yeah, I've been a Pip Rivers hater over the years. Last year was the first year that I really got on the Pip Rivers bandwagon, and I'm going to continue with that on this year. I like their defense, what they've built there, but like you said, they can't stay healthy. Josh, what are your thoughts? Listen, the AFC West is kind of wide open at the moment. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, losing the corner there, that does hurt that defense. But you got to look at it. They still have probably the best front four in almost arguably the NFL. Their front 7 overall is actually really good. They drafted a safety this year, correct? Am I wrong on that?
Derwin James.
Finally, the safety. Yeah, finally the safety that I've been calling for the last freaking 3 years. So they do have Derwin James. And who knows, maybe Derwin James is a safety, but they may throw him out there in the corner just to see if they can help him out. But the thing is, for me, with this injury to the secondary, for fantasy purposes, I actually like it a lot more for the wide receivers and Phillip Rivers. So if you're looking at it fantasy-wise, I like it a little bit more, just because I think they may be down a few extra points just for the fact that they may let up a couple points through the air as compared to what they normally would have.
Like you guys both mentioned, they landed Derwin James, who fell down pretty much all the draft boards. Before we get to our next injury, I do want to mention one guy who was not drafted in the 2018 draft, but the 2017 draft. One Sidney Jones. Philadelphia Eagles drafted him in the 2nd round, I believe, in the 2017 draft. Huge name for us. We all had him as our top 2 or top 3 corner at the worst in 2017 coming out of Washington. And all signs point to him being an absolute killer so far in training camp. So that could be, exactly what the Eagles were hoping for. A first-round draft pick, kind of an ace in their back pocket type deal. Just wanted to throw that in there for all, defense purposes. The Eagles were already stacked, and they're getting another extremely valuable piece. The next guy I want to get back to the injuries. Doug Baldwin, out for the Seattle Seahawks. He's missed a few practices now. Are you concerned?
I think you kind of have to be. They said possibly they're saying he could miss a couple weeks. That could linger on. That could be 3 weeks. That could be a month. And if it gets to that month spot, he's obviously not going to be in football shape. He's not going to be ready. Early in the year, he'll probably be on limited amount of snaps. So I am worried. It takes some time for these receivers and the quarterbacks, even the ones that have played together, to get on the same page. And he obviously will not be getting on the same page with Russell Wilson anytime soon.
Josh Caw, you are an old Seahawks fan before you converted to being a Bucs fan once they got good. As an old fan, what are your thoughts? What do you think about the Seahawks? Still not a ton of offensive line help, but they did sign Dwayne Brown to that big contract. We'll get to the more lineman contracts in a minute, but what are your thoughts on what they have going on there?
I'm going to counter that, Tim, and I'm going to ask you a question. Who else do they have as a wide receiver for the Seahawks?
Honestly, I don't know. For all I know, they still have freaking Percy Harvin over there.
Exactly. They don't have anybody. That offense may be, besides the quarterback, the worst offense in the NFL. They took a running back early in the first round, not early, but in the first round, earlier than what everybody thought he was going to go. They have Chris Carson who can catch the ball out of the backfield. They got DJ Process that can catch the ball out of the backfield. But they have Doug Baldwin, and that is pretty much it. Tyler Lockett and Paul Richardson is now not there. He is gone off the team. They got, I think, Darboh. I think he is there from last year. But they have nobody. And for me, personally, Russell Wilson cannot take everything and put it on his shoulders, again, like he did last year.
That's exactly what I've been saying leading up to both of these last 2 drafts. And this is just a obvious case of Pete Carroll trying to be the smartest guy in the room, trying to put it all on Russell Wilson's shoulders, not realizing that, you know what, sometimes getting that Sierra love, Russell Wilson might get tired of it. But Josh, I'm going to counter you. I do know of a guy who is catching balls from Russell Wilson. Now, to be fair, he's on the defensive side, and I like to call him Chubbs. His real name is Shaquem Griffin. Intercepted Russell Wilson in practice, I believe yesterday. What kind of factor do you think Shaquem Griffin's going to have in the NFL? Do you think he's going to, let's say, over under 5.5 years of being a factor in the NFL? Like he's going to play, 70% of the snaps on the defensive side of the ball. 5.5 years, over under.
So you got to look at it. So he did get that interception against Russell Wilson. Congratulations, that is very impressive. But he also had a forced fumble in that practice too. Not a lot of people are talking about. So he's doing a lot of things very, very well for that team. But the thing is, he was a later draft pick. And as much talent as he does have, he's a quote-unquote tweener, right? So he's in between the outside linebacker position and the safety position, where I don't think you can look at his 40 time and say that he is quote-unquote fast enough, but I don't think he's quick enough, I guess I would say. But he also plays the same position that who's the outside linebacker for the Seahawks? I'm drawing a blank.
I have no idea who. Not. It's not Bobby Wagner, but who the hell are you talking about?
Wagner's in the middle. Is KJ Wright
Wagner
still there?
Is Bobby Wagner you're thinking of? Okay.
Yeah. So they play the same position. So honestly, if you're going to be seeing Shaquem Griffin on the field, it's going to be, unfortunately, on kickoffs. And if Bobby Wagner goes down, there's probably going to be somebody else that steps in front of Shaquem Griffin, and you may see him every now and again. So this first year, I definitely don't see 70%. I would like to say that I could see that happening, but the first year I definitely don't. So how many years do I think he's going to stick in the league? I think it'll be more than 5, but it's not going to be at 70% or more.
We'll have to wait and see how it plays out. I just can't help but laugh, and call me a terrible person if you want. What the running back or wide receiver, whoever fumbled that ball, what his coach is yelling at him, how he let a one-armed man force a fumble on him. You know that those. I mean, you can't tell me that that's not happening out there. That he's not screaming on the field. He's got one arm. How's he knocking the ball out of your hands?
No way that happened.
You don't think that happens,
No.
Tom?
I'm gonna ask this question. Tom, you have watched Shaquem Griffin tape, right?
What you know? He said Tom.
Wait,
Tom. You have watched Shaquem Griffin's tape from college, correct?
Yeah.
And what was he really good at doing? Forcing fumbles, no?
Yep. Surprisingly
So
rushing
him,
the
just fuck
passer,
up.
forced fumbles, yep.
I think that, listen, with the day and age that we live in, as PC as it is, listen, you watch a show like Last Chance U this season, and Coach AB out there, the things that he's saying to those kids, if you don't think that there's a coach yelling at their players saying he's got one arm and you still can't hold on to the football, you're nuts. You're nuts. I'm not even saying that joking. Absolutely they are. Absolutely they are. Whatever. We will move on because I can only imagine the look Josh is giving me over the phone. Tom's already giving me the cut this out conversation. Hey, listen, I hope Shaquem Griffin goes out there and dominates. I really do. Let's go to the people who've gotten paid. We already talked a little bit about Dwayne Brown, but some other linemen out there, Matthews, Lewin, all getting paid big money. For some reason, the Rams are just able to pull money out of their ass every 6 weeks to pay someone monster dollars, everyone except for Aaron Donald. So let's start there. What do you think about the signing? And then does Donald end up getting paid?
Wait, the Gurley signing?
Yeah, the Gurley getting money there.
He deserves to get paid. It's kind of feel bad for running backs, and Gurley's been very vocal, talking about some of these NBA contracts, saying blah, 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 gets 150 mil, but I can't even get like 40 mil. And Todd Gurley is one of the best players in the NFL, but his position is not valued. But the Rams are doing the right thing. They're keeping their young workhorse running back healthy. This will probably be the last time he's going to get paid big-time money because they're going to continue to run him into the ground just like any other stud running back. That's what every other team does to their stud running backs.
Josh Gurley gets his money. Aaron Donald is now holding out. His new teammate, Ndamukong Suh, has come out publicly and said he deserves more money than I got when I got my big contract when he went to Miami. So what do you think? Does Donald end up getting paid? Do you think this is going to be a kind of like Lev Bell situation in Los Angeles? They can't have that much money left. I mean, it's going to be hard to pay the man what he thinks he's worth.
Aaron Donald's going to get paid his money, and I don't know how. I don't know exactly how it's going to happen, but there is no way they're going to let the best defensive player in the NFL walk from this team. There's no way.
I hope you're right, and I keep just thinking to myself, man, the Rams have to be kicking themselves a little bit that they paid Sammy Watkins that money. Because there has to be, Sammy Watkins are a dime a dozen. No offense to him whatsoever. He's a great player. But not being able to pay an Aaron Donald and having him hold out is detrimental to your team in the long run. This is a potentially Super Bowl team this year with how great that defense is. We will have to wait and see. The other guy, the big contract news of the day today I think, Stephon Diggs. Monster deal, up to $80 million, $40 million guaranteed. This is a guy who's never had a 100-catch season. This is a guy who's never had a 1,000-yard season. Essentially being signed strictly for his potential. He's had good years, but never a great year. Bringing in Kirk Cousins. Apparently the Vikings think that he's the guy now keeping their core. I saw a bunch of things, a lot of the NFL analysts from NFL.com and ESPN put a thing. They have like 8 or 9 guys now, the big-name guys who are signed through 2020 in Minnesota. What do you think about the money that Diggs got?
It's a front-loaded contract, and they paid him less than Sammy Watkins got. I believe it was less than Brandon Cooks got. Devontae Adams is making more as well. So that doesn't happen too often. So I think the Vikings did a good job. It's a very good deal for both of these football teams. As the contract gets older, it gets less, which is good for the Vikings, but that probably means Diggs is going to hold out. The Vikings are hoping that this is similar to that Antonio Brown contract that he originally got from the Pittsburgh Steelers the year before he broke out. They paid him below market value for a stud receiver, but he ended up being elite. They think that Diggs is elite. There's a lot of people out there that thinks Stephon Diggs is the next Antonio Brown. His biggest issue has been staying healthy. If he could stay healthy and put it together for a full 16 games, I think he's going to put up wide receiver 1 numbers for the Vikings.
Joshua, you've been hot and cold on Diggs at time. I know when he first got into the league, I believe you had him our rookie season. You and I kind of battled back and forth for him. But you've been hot and cold on him a little bit since. Is he worth the money that he was paid?
You got to look at it. Like Tom said, it is a front-loaded contract, which does kind of make sense for both parties. Diggs is going to get, what is it, $40 million guaranteed, right?
$40 million guaranteed, up to $80 million, so he can double his money if he performs.
So it is front-loaded, and it is a lot of guaranteed money. But you also got to remember that they still have a wide receiver that they drafted early in the first round a couple years ago in Treadwell. So if Diggs does not pan out, or if Treadwell really takes a leap in this year and maybe the year afterwards, then they can get rid of Diggs after that $40 million guaranteed. The whatever years are after that, they don't have to worry about paying as much, and then they can really focus on that. But at the same time, I do like Diggs. They did give a contract extension to Thielen too, I believe. Was last year, I believe, and it's different. But you got to remember they're not paying a lot of money right now for a big time running back. They have second-year running back in Cook, so you can kind of get away with it right now.
So I'm gonna blame you being over the phone for you putting Laquan Treadwell out there as a possible replacement for Stephon Diggs. You're talking about a guy who's been I like to call him Casper. That's my nickname because he's been a damn ghost his first, I believe, 2 seasons in the NFL. His rookie year was garbage. Last year was barely better than garbage. So don't have any idea, Josh, where you're coming from with that statement. But nevertheless, let's move on to
hold on, real quick. So where I'm coming at with that is you got to look at Josh Doctson with Kirk Cousins when he was in Washington. Josh Doctson, again, same year they were drafted, didn't do anything his first year, didn't really do anything. They've been in the league, 3 years now, or was that their second year last year?
That was second year.
second year. So last year, I believe Josh Doctson, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think he had did he have 6 touchdowns last year?
Yep.
Yeah, he had 6 touchdowns, right? So I could see that possibly happening. Again, Josh Doctson, decent-sized body wide receiver, good hands. Treadwell, decent-sized wide receiver. I could see that happening here. You got to look at Treadwell. He's a little bit bigger than Thielen and Diggs is, and that possibility is definitely there. That is the reason why I am bringing up Treadwell's name. I'm not saying Treadwell is a world beater by any means at all. He has not proven that. But the possibility with that new quarterback there is definitely there.
Possibility is there. I just think Minnesota has too much talent already in Diggs, in Thielen, in Kyle Rudolph, in both of those running backs that they have there. They have a lot of mouths to feed regardless. Yes, he could be the hidden gem, if you would. So I get what you're saying, Josh, but let's move on to another guy who finally got paid. Sam Darnold finally gets his money contract, finally goes through. I heard that the coach, as he was walking down, they were asked, what'd you say to Sam Darnold when he finally got on the practice field? What was the first thing he said to him? He said, I told him you're late. Love it. Fantastic. Spoiled rich kid from USC. Sorry, switching gears there. USC. Needs to be put in place a little bit. Now he's in there to work his ass off. But that's not the story. Sam Darnold signed with the CAA Sports Agency. And another man by the name of Roquan Smith. Chicago Bears pick number 7 overall? 8? 7 or 8. Somewhere in there. Shame on
7,
me.
I think. Shame
on me for not remembering. Because the Colts were 6. Number 7 for the Chicago Bears. And still, the last first-round draft pick, unsigned. And the issue is, with the NFL's new rules of targeting, apparently forever, it's been players' contracts that if they get suspended for on-the-field headshots, things like that, the team can go after the players' guaranteed money, their signing bonus. Roquan now and his team, CAA, they're trying to set a precedent. They're trying to say that no, now that the rules have changed, we're nervous. We don't know how hard or soft they're gonna go after all this. We're not going to agree to it. And now here we are. It seems to me that this is something that the Bears organization is just going to have to cave on. But everyone is saying that the Bears are being pressured by other owners, the Jerry Jones of the world, saying, no, you can't do this. You can't let them take over. New CBA is coming up in a couple years here. A lot of weird things, but the Bears still do not have their future star middle linebacker on the field. What do you guys think?
For me personally, I think it's embarrassing. They spent that amount of draft capital. They are about to play their first preseason game in 2 days, and their first-round pick, Roquan Smith, the new leader of that football team, is still not in camp. And I really get where both sides are coming from, but I always go in favor of the football player. They're the one that is putting their lives on the line every single play, every single game that they line up in the NFL. It's a dangerous sport, and I think they get screwed by far out of any sport that is popular in America. Football players and their contracts, they get bent over every freaking time. More power to the players. And Sam Darnold, the Jets, they had to cave in a little bit to get him signed, to give him that signing bonus 100% up front. And the Bears have to give a little and get their stud, their future leader of that defense in camp now.
Josh, it's always a battle between the owners, between the players, and you're talking, like Tom said, a lot of draft capital there. This is a guy who they're bringing in as the future, to be put the C on his chest. In all honesty, that's why they drafted him there. Their other middle linebacker right now, Danny Trevathan, has spent a lot of time out. What are your thoughts?
So I did some looking at some articles on that, and as much as the Bears do want to protect their draft capital and everything like that, there are 2 other players that just did the negotiations and reworked their deal to where the language that Roquan Smith does want changed, they changed that in their contracts as well. I thought one was Todd Gurley, and I can't remember the other one, but it was a defensive player, and they changed it for them. So I thought that was very interesting.
I agree with you. My biggest, as a Bears fan, my biggest problem with this is, as I mentioned, this has been in players' contracts for years. So it's not like the Bears are doing anything wrong and trying to keep it in there. My issue was it's up to the team's discretion then to try to go after it. Danny Trevathan last year or the year before, was suspended one game for an illegal hit. I believe it was against the Green Bay, the Devontae Adams hit.
Yep.
Suspended for that. And they didn't go after it. They could have. They didn't even do it. So what are you arguing against? You're fighting against yourself. You have so much invested here. My only thing I can think is, listen, he wasn't in camp this week. If next Monday, that's Monday friggin' whatever, August or 4th, 5th, 8th or 9th, if he's not in camp next Monday, I'll be nervous. Because you're thinking, all right, next Monday, that's week 2. They have 5 preseason games. Week 2, he's not going to play that upcoming week. You got 2 weeks. He needs at least 2 weeks with that defense, with Vic Fangio. Vic Fangio runs a complex defense. Likes to switch some things around. You need to have, if you expect him to have the C on his chest come next year, he needs to have those reps. And it drives me absolutely nuts. Nevertheless, I will end it with this. Your guy's favorite head coach, Chucky. John Gruden out there with the soon-to-be Las Vegas Raiders. There's talks that with Khalil Mack holding out, he hasn't even contacted him. That's been, reported. It's been argued against here or there. But Jared Cook says that John Gruden's out there, and I believe the quote was something along the lines of, he's showing us film that we didn't even know existed. He's showing his players film from 1976. In 2018, can a head coach be showing these young players, showing these millennials this tape and earn their respect?
It's the Oakland Raiders right now. It's a disaster. Look, I get where John Gruden's coming from with the Khalil Mack situation. He came out and said, even with him last year, our defense sucked. He needs to, or that both sides need to get together and get things done. I get Khalil Mack wanting to get paid. But this team and John Gruden living in the late 90s, I'm nervous. And right now, he requested that Amari Cooper bulked up. Amari Cooper is now 225 pounds. I don't know if I like that. It's going to be very interesting. This is one of the most polarizing teams right now in the NFL. I could see them winning 3 games, or I could see them winning 9 or 10, because I don't think the AFC West is that good besides LA Chargers, and you never really know what you're getting out of them. I don't know. It's a disaster right now. And him talking up Jordy Nelson, talking up Doug Martin, Marshawn Lynch, just all these older players. He's saying they still got it, still got years left to play football. Ugh. I feel bad for Oakland Raider fans.
Josh, the Raiders, are they a playoff team?
Yeah, they're also starting Colton Miller at left tackle.
Yeah.
Mind you, as well, they said. So, no, it's a disaster. I'm going to be as frank as I can and as open and honest. I'm a huge John Gruden fan, but he's fucking crazy. So I feel bad for the Raiders. I feel bad for all the young talent that's on there. But if you're in a fantasy league, chances are there'll probably be 3 running backs with over 1,000 yards the way that they're going, because they're just going to run the ball a lot.
I'm sure Derek Carr will love that. I know I said I was ending it with Chucky, but I do want to end on actually a good note, because you hear all the time about all the negatives in the league. Tyrod Taylor has come out and said that when he came into the league, Joe Flacco wasn't really a mentor to him. He didn't really coach him up, didn't build him up, and he kind of had to do things on his own, which was a little bit surprising to me. But now, with Baker Mayfield, he said he's doing everything in his power to make Baker Mayfield the best NFL quarterback he possibly can. These two have an RV in the parking lot of training camp. They won't tell anyone what it's about. It's just, I'm sure they got a freaking Xbox One and a friggin' bottle of Hennessy, some SoCo, and probably a little bit of weed. And they're just hanging out in there and partying and learning to be quarterbacks together, being bros. What do you guys think? What do you think Baker Mayfield is taking away from the Tyrod Taylor mentorship?
Not to be a dickhead like a lot of these other quarterbacks are, like Big Ben has been, like Joe Flacco has been. Be confident in yourself. When you got that QB1 spot, you could be nice to the little guy because you know that's your freaking job. Just come out and play. That's how Tyrod is taking this. He knows that he's not the 10-year planned quarterback for the Cleveland Browns, that Baker Mayfield's going to be that. He knows he's going to be making a lot of money the next 2 or 3 years because the Browns are still going to be paying him. Have fun with the young cat. Get some Le'Veon Bell strippers up in that RV. Have a good time in training camp and just live it up a little bit.
Josh?
Oh, sorry, my bad. I had it on mute for a second there. I was looking up when Joe Flacco came in the league. Does anybody remember?
2008?
Yeah, 2008, and Tyrod Taylor came in the league 2011, so only a couple of years separates them. So, in my opinion, I get where Tyrod Taylor's coming from, and I'm happy he's kind of helping along Baker Mayfield right now. All reports that I have seen is Baker Mayfield lighting up the practice field, Tyrod Taylor lighting up the practice field with Jarvis Landry and some of the other wide receivers there. But honestly, you gotta think about it. When you're a quarterback and they draft a quarterback 3 years later, what does that tell you? I would probably not really worry about that guy either. So call me an asshole, but it's whatever.
Well, we will have to wait and see how that plays out. Obviously, you guys both love Baker Mayfield. I want one-word answers for you because we're running out of time here. One word. Does Dez Bryant sign with the Cleveland Browns?
Yes.
Josh?
No.
All right, we will have to wait and see for that as well. I think they do because they're going to try to get to 500 this year. I think that's their benchmark. But nevertheless, gentlemen, it has been a fantastic time. Josh, thank you for calling all the way from beautiful San Francisco. As always, we are Pony Keg Sports, your number one fantasy and just regular NFL football podcast, coming to you with multiple shows every single week. Make sure to follow us on Facebook at Pony Keg Sports. Make sure to follow Josh on Twitter at Pony Keg Sports, Tom at Pony_Keg_Tom, and you can follow me at Fight Talk Tim. Before we let you go, any closing comments from either of you? We got a couple minutes here.
I got nothing.
Nothing? Josh, anything from you?
No, you did an all right job. Not great. Not that good, but all right.
I am the Tyrod Taylor of the podcasting world. I like to take some guys like Tom under my wing in my RV and get those Lev Bell strippers. We're going to bring them down here, Josh. Hope Becca doesn't mind. I wanted to ask you what that Cuban boy was doing in your bedroom when I got here, but I digress. Gentlemen, it's been fun. Make sure to be on the lookout for the other 2 episodes this week. We got some depth chart arguments, who's going to win the spot. We have some, what's our other show that I said we were going to do? Whatever. We'll figure it out. We got a couple more shows coming this week. Josh may or may not be along for all the rides. But, again, follow us at Pony Keg Sports. Until next time, peace!